Start recording.
Recording is on.
Okay, I told you that we communicate with the server using an interface that we call API. It doesn't matter whether you are Digicala or another application. The principles are the same. So we are going to, given that this course is just a primary and elementary course, but we will learn in this course how servers work, in fact, how they communicate with our application, or vice versa, how our application communicates with the server. In order to be able to talk to a server, ask the server for some information, or ask the server to do some operations on our behalf, in fact, we need to know the language that the server uses. You know, when two people are going to talk to each other, they need to have a common language that both of them understand. For example, I'm talking English to you. We are
Yeah.
using a common language that is English. So English is a means of communication for me and you. It's our interface. The English language is an interface between me and you. And that's the same for the server and client. In the context of network communication and network programming, a client often refers to the application that is running on your phone in the form of an Android application or an iOS application. On the other hand, the server refers the to the application that is running somewhere on a big computer called server, and it has often some central role. For example, it has access to the database where all information about an application is saved or stored. For example, the Digicala server has, imagine it has a big database. It has the list of all the users, it has the list of all products, and it has the list of all sellers and all users orders. So when you uh, put or place an order using the Digicala application, in fact, you ask the server to first authenticate you, because if you are not authenticated, you will not be able to access your account. So first, what you do is you ask the server to authenticate you once you are logged in, and Digicala considers you an authenticated user. It allows you to make some requests, for example, to place an order or to purchase something or browse the products and other stuff. Okay, after this introduction, now I'm going to show you the language, the common language that the clients and servers use. This common language is called JSON. JSON is a format. JSON is a format or a language that uses a very simple structure that I'm going to show you now. Let me open my simple text editor to show you the structure of a simple JSON statement. For example, let's say this is the response from the server. As you can see, every JSON statement has an opening and closing brace, and then inside it, we add some other objects, like for example, status code, and its value, for example, is 200. And then it has some, for example, object. Here, it is an array because it's going to send us a list of contacts. So it's an array. And since this is an array, it consists of a collection of objects, a collection of contacts. So every object in JSON is displayed or represented by a brace, by an opening and closing brace like this. So here's one contact, the second contact, third contact, and so on, if you want to continue and return more contacts from the server. So let's say each contact has a full name, like this, full name, Jack, McDonald, and then phone, like a phone number, and then another full name, John Doe, and phone, some imaginary number. Do you hear me, Hannan?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, you see, I'm talking about JSON, the language that I talked to you about. This is the language that often is used to communicate with the server. For example, when we ask for information about contacts from the server, we ask the server with a request. For example, we say, server, please give us the contacts. And then the server returns a collection of contacts like this in a response object. And the whole object, as you can see, it has an opening and closing brace. And inside it, it has several properties. One of them is status code is 200. This is arbitrary. We know that, for example, we are familiar with our server, and we know that when the server gives us status code of 200, it means that the result is successful and it is giving us a response, an appropriate response. If it gives us 500, for example, 500 means server error, means that there was some problem in the server and the server cannot serve the request. But let's say it is 200, everything is okay, and the server is returning the list of contacts for us. The full name, sorry, this is JSON, and objects and their values have to be separated with colon. Full name, Matthew Milan, and some phone again. Let's make the phone numbers also string, because these are text. These are stored as text inside the server. We return text for phone. Okay, let me save this somewhere. This was just to show you how it worked. Server sample JSON. Now back to my terminal. I have a terminal open, and inside this terminal, I have started a server. You don't need to worry about how the server works right now. All you need to do is to know what the server gives to you. So I have started the server, and if I want to see the result, I simply enter its address like this. I have a server running on my system on this address, localhost colon 8080, and then contact. As you can see, it returns a JSON response. And this JSON response has a property called links. Under links, it has another property or object called self, which refers to itself. And it has a URL that refers to itself, which means this address. Then we have the embedded part, and we have under embedded, we have contact, and contact is a collection of contacts that it returns to us. As I told you already, this is an array. So it has items starting from index 0 and going above. 0 is contact with the name of Jack Canfield, and 1 is a contact object that refers to John Doe. All right. There seems to be some problem with my server code. Let me first correct it. I have to open my server code and do some changes because it has to return full name for John Doe. In front of John Doe, we must have full name. And also, we should return the phone number, which is not yet there. Later, in more advanced courses, you will learn how to work with servers and how to program the servers and how to return response yourself from the server. But for now, all you need to know is that servers have some code that runs behind the scenes, and you just talk to them and ask them for some information. They return. Contact resource. One of these, yes, returned contact ID. Full name, let us return the phone as well. Full name and phone. Hanan, tell me an imaginary number.
095678. I don't
Five,
know.
6. Good, that's good. So now I save the code and run the request again to the server. Look, our changes were applied. Now we get the phone as well as the full name for our second contact. So if I want to return more contacts, all I need to do is increase the size of this array simply by adding, this is PHP by the way. If you want to learn more, and after this course, if you were interested in learning server-side programming, you can learn PHP as well. But for now, just see this as objects. This part is just for a contact, but you don't need to be very careful about that because it's not the focus of this session. Let me copy this and paste it. We are going to return enough contacts for our list. A lot of contacts. Often these contacts are stored inside the database from the server. But for now, we are just returning some context that we write inside the code. Okay, Hannan,
Okay.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. These are just the IDs. IDs must be unique, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, now you should give me some imaginary names. Give me some imaginary names. Bruce Lee, is it good?
Yeah.
Okay, now tell me the phone number of Bruce Lee.
09
Do- 09. Oh, it's
35.
Irancel. Okay, another name. Give me another name. Some actor name. John Travolta. I don't know if it's correct. Travolta, is it like this?
I don't know.
What is John's phone number? Give me a number.
09
09.
uh, mm, 1456.
1456. Good. Okay, another actor. Tell me another name, please.
I
Uh, Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage. What is Nicolas's phone number? Another name. Another name. Jon Snow. Do you know Jon Snow?
Yeah.
Good. What is John's phone number?
09.
7. You
Yeah.
give all of them
Something
Irancel. Try
like.
another operator. Another one. Edward Stark. Okay, another phone number. The phone number 056. Give me a name. Some name, please.
Yeah.
Uh, Jill. Gedard. Just made it up. Okay. Another name. Another name. What is the actor of Matrix? Matrix. What is the lead actor of Matrix movie?
Yeah.
Let's try another one.
Rihanna.
Oh,
Rihanna.
good. Yeah. Riano
Rihanna.
Rives.
Reeves.
Rives. Is it right?
Keanu Reeves. Yeah. Keanu.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Just
right.
one extra E. Good. Oh, give me his phone number. But not Irancel, please.
0258.
258 7, let's say. Good. Another actor. Let's see what another active. Jon Snow. One of them was Jon Snow. The other was Eddard Stark. Uh, Game of Thrones. Emilia Clarke. And this is her phone number. Okay. Okay, we leave the rest as they are, no problem. Now, after I save the server code, I get back to my browser and refresh my page. You see, I have the results
Yeah.
on my web page in the form of a JSON response. This is in fact beautified by Firefox because Firefox knows this format and knows that it is JSON and shows that in an organized way to me. But in fact, it is raw data, a very simple string like this. You know, it's very
Yeah.
complicated like this. Looks very complicated. But Firefox shows that in a very organized and beautiful way so that you understand which item is under which item and which items are part of a collection. For example, contacts are an array containing contacts and also total items. It shows the total number of items to us. Now, we want to read this response from the server inside our application and show this as a list of contacts in our application. In order to do that, we need to use a library or API inside Android that knows and is specifically created to work with JSON format. What it does is that we give it an array. For example, we give it this part. And then it gives us the collection of contacts, and from that collection we can extract the contacts one by one and display them inside our application. But I'm not going to display them right after I get them from the server because we are using a database inside our application. And first, we are going to save these information inside our database and later display them inside the list that our application has. So back to my, let's close the server code. We don't need it anymore. Save some. Also close the text editor. Here. First, I'm going to add something to my list so that whenever I drag my pointer or my mouse from the top, it starts to refresh the page. Have you seen that in applications?
Yeah.
When you
I did.
drag your finger down, it starts to refresh and gets information from the server. So that is a widget in Android or a view that is called swipe refresh layout. Swipe refresh layout. We need to add it to our application. So I go to my code and then my layout activity main. As you remember, here we had a list view. We need to wrap our list view inside a swipe refresh layout. Let me see if I can find swipe refresh layout here. Swipe refresh layout, containers. Do you see swipe refresh layout here?
Yeah, I see it.
Where is it?
Uh, Wait a second. No, it's not there. Can you pull it down?
It's not there. It's not there, right?
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
not.
here. Let's see. It seems like it's a different library. Yes, it's a different library we need to add to our application. So we search for swipe refresh layout in Google, and it opens the documentation for swipe refresh on Android documentation page, developer.android.com. It shows you that you should add this dependency to your build.gradle file. So copy this line and go to your build.gradle file and add that line inside the dependencies block. Only the implementation part. Then press sync now so that the swipe refresh layout is added. While it's being added, let's do a review of how it was used. Swipe refresh layout. We open it, and this is under the guide section, which has good tutorials on how to use different components. As you can see, it has wrapped its existing list view inside the swipe refresh layout. So this is the way we should use it. So I go back to my activity main. It is still building the application, but it's done. And add a swipe refresh layout. Android X dot swipe refresh layout dot widget dot swipe refresh layout. I need to give it some width and height. Width, for its width, let's give it 100 depth, and height, layout height, 100 depth for now. And then we need to give it some constraints. Before giving it constraints, let's move our list view inside it. I put my list view inside it, and then give some constraints to my swipe refresh layout from both right and left and top and bottom. In order to give it as much space as possible, I change the width and height to 0 depth. Now it matches its constraint. It uses the whole space that is available for it. Now our list view doesn't need constraints anymore because its father, its parent, has constraints, you know. All right. List view, no need for a closing tag. For its width, it should be match parent now. Match parent. If we check the documentation, it's using the same way. Android ID. Match parent, match parent. And that's swipe refresh layout. Are you done? Our swipe refresh layout also needs an ID. So I give it an ID, Android colon ID, swipe, swipe, refresh. I give it an ID of swipe refresh. All right. Now when the user swipes the page using the swipe refresh layout, we should detect this gesture and respond to it by requesting some information from the server. So inside my main activity code, I need to find this swipe refresh layout. I define it and swipe refresh. Its type is swipe refresh layout. And then I initialize it inside the onCreate method with the help of binding with mSwipe refresh and binding dot swipe refresh. Now I have access to the swipe refresh, and I need to respond to its request. What I do, I need to listen to the swipe gesture by the user, to the drag that the user applies. So I say mSwipe refresh layout dot set on refresh listener. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
mSwipe. Okay, what I did, I added the swipe refresh layout to my code. Now I'm telling it to listen to drags from the user. Set on refresh listener. And inside the braces, I should add my code. Ask the server for information for contact list. So let's do that. But before we contact the server, we need to add a mechanism to work with the server. The first step to use a networking capability in your application is to add the required permission to your Android manifest file. Where was Android manifest.xml, Hannon? Inside the manifest folder.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I open it and I add a new permission. Because I'm going to work with internet, I need a permission to work with the internet. So this one is Android permission.internet. All right, I close it. And another thing that I need is a library that allows me to do network operations. This library can be any library that is created for Android networking. To use in this lecture is OKHTTP. It's a library that is straightforward to use. OKHTTP. Here's the web page for the project square.github.io. I open it. It will tell me how to use it. As you can see, it has a section, introduction, and requirements. And let me see how we should add it to our project. Releases. All right. It's almost the same format that we often use to add our dependencies to our project. com.squareup, okay, HTTP. So this line is what we need. I copy that. You know, it's the name of the library. Package first, and the name of the library, and then the version number. Back to my build.gradle file. I add a new implementation, open the string, I copy the library name and sync now. I press sync now to allow Android Studio to download this library to my project. While it's being downloaded, let's check out some information about how to use it. Get a URL. First, it requires a client. We define a client for it, and then we run a statement, we make a request using that client. We pass in the request that we built to the client this way, and then it gives us some response after some time. So the library is added. Great. Now I can delete this to do and add the request to the server. So Hanan, do you remember the URL that we used to get information from the server?
Uh,
It is this URL, right?
yes,
Localhost colon
localhost.
8080 slash contact. This localhost and colon 8080 is just the name of the server, okay? The name and port of the server that we connect to. But
Yeah.
in order for our application to be able to connect to the server, we need to give it the IP address of the server. Do you know what IP address is?
Uh, IP address. Uh,
Yeah,
you mean the numbers like 192
very
point?
good. Very good. Yeah, yeah, it's a number. So localhost refers to my system, but my system has an IP address. So I need to know my IP address. I go to the networks settings to see my IP address. Network. I need to find out what my IP address is. Wireless, Wi-Fi. Are you there, Hanan? Hello? Are you there, Hanan? So I read my IP address from the network settings. It is 192.168.134. Do you see this, Hanan? Hello? Are you there? So I get this IP address, copy it.
Hello.
Hi. Do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
I open the network settings and find the IP address of my system. That's this. I copy it back to my code and save it as address or just IP. That IP, and then I need to create a client. So I say val client. Let's check out the documentation. We first create a client and then a request. OK, HTTP client. We need to import this class. So I press Alt and Return to import it. And then I create a request. Val request dot builder. I import it from the OKHTTP library. Builder.
I don't see your screen. I don't
Sorry,
know why.
because I was disconnected. Do you see
Yeah,
it
okay.
now?
Yes, I see.
Okay. So I got my IP address from my network settings. You see, I copy that 192.168.134.
Yeah.
And back to my code, I saved it in a variable named IP. Then I created a client with OKHTTP client class. And then I'm creating a request. This request has a URL, okay? Its URL is HTTP, then the IP address, and after IP address, contact. This is exactly this URL, you remember? But
Yeah.
instead of localhost 8080, we are using the IP address. But this only runs on this port, 8080. So I need to specify the port 8080 as well. So I do that. After IP, I also enter the port. We have URL, and also we had, and then we build it. We build the request finally. Build. Now we are ready to run the request to the server. We run the request with a try catch. You know, when we uh, when we think that it is possible that some error might occur, some problem might occur, we use a try catch, you know, like this. Try in order to prevent some problems. So I say try and then catch. Try catch. Try catch. Exception. Like this. If some problem occurred, we can simply say e.print stack trace. This prints all the error inside logcat so that we can see what happened. Also, it's good to show a toast. Make text, application context, some problem occurred. And then show the error from this exception. I say e.message. I display the error, and then toast.length long, display the toast for a longer duration, and finally show it. But often when you make a request to the server, first you display a progress bar, right?
Yeah.
For example, something spins around when you are requesting some information from the server. You first display a progress bar. So let me create a progress bar, val progress, like this. Progress bar. Our progress bar requires the context. I give it the context of this application. Also, val, I need to display an alert on which to show the progress bar. So I create an alert dialog, or name it alert. Dialog dot builder Android X compat builder. Give it context. Context is this application, this activity, and you know what alert dialog is, Hanan?
No, I don't know.
Okay, when your activity or application is running, a small window opens in the middle of your screen. It shows you a
Okay.
message, or it shows you some progress bar. It shows you some spinning bar here. A very small
Yeah,
one.
okay.
Later you will see that in action. So it has context and it has set view. I'm going to display my progress bar inside the alert dialog. So I say set view, progress, and then build. Create. So here inside the try one, first I display the alert dialog, alert.show with this. And then make the request to the server. I say client dot new call, and then pass in the request to it. My request is this one. Request, and then enqueue. Enqueue means that send the request to the server and do this call using the background process so that our application doesn't freeze. Enqueue. And I need to pass in a callback. Callback. This callback is a method that will be executed once we receive a response from the server. Convert to callback. Let me on failure and on response. Since this is an interface, it has some methods inside it. Callback. on response. We need to create a callback object here. Callback. I don't know why it doesn't give me the required hints for this interface. In queue. It's weird. This requires an implementation of the interface. Execute request in queue. Execute. Okay, HTTP, let's search it on the web. Okay, HTTP enqueue Kotlin. Because the sample code is given with Java, we need to check out how it's done in Kotlin. Execute, new call, execute, new call, enqueue. Yes, object. We need to create the object this way. We are in fact creating an object of the type callback. So now it will help us to override and implement its required methods. So after we added these methods, when we receive a failure from the server, this code is executed. And here we show an error to the user. For example, we show a toast message. I copy this toast. And it will work. And when we were successful in receiving the message, this method is run and we can work with the response. So here we receive our response, val JSON. We need to get the response and convert it to JSON string. Response.body. Response.body, it gives us the response body. Let me rename this to response body. And now from this response body, we can create the JSON object that we will work with, JSON root. We name it JSON root. Why do I name it JSON root? Handan.
I don't know.
That's because if I open the JSON row response, that the whole message is wrapped inside a beginning brace and an ending brace, an opening and a closing brace, you know.
Yeah.
We name the whole part, we name this whole string a root, you know. This whole JSON response will be considered the root JSON, and from this root JSON object, we will extract other information. So we will start with the root, JSON root, JSON object. I create a JSON object with this class, and I pass in the string. I say response body.toString. I don't need the above line, so I remove it. JSON root. Now, which part do I need, Handan? I need the contacts part, right?
Yeah.
So I need to go and find embedded first. So let's find embedded. Val embedded JSON object dot JSON object. I create this JSON object from another JSON object from the root. So I say JSON root, which means go and find this object from another JSON object. JSON object, mutable JSON tokenizer. Copy from I say JSON root get JSON object. Yeah, I get JSON object embedded from inside the root one. And then the name of the string is embedded underscore embedded. Embedded. Now I have embedded. Next, I need to find the list of contacts inside embedded, you know? So what key do I need to find? What object I'm interested in? Just tell me the name of the object.
Contact.
Contact, very good. So I say
The
val
contact.
contacts and then embedded dot JSON get JSON array. Why JSON array, Anna? Because this is an array, we know that, right?
Yeah.
So what is the name of the array? You told me contact.
Contact.
Now that we have the contacts array, we need to enumerate and iterate over them and read the contacts one by one, extract the contacts one by one. So I do that this way. JSON array, contacts, JSON for let me see. We need a for loop starting from 0 and going up to val contacts as contact. I just forgot the for loop in Kotlin. For loop Kotlin. I0, I less than contacts dot length I plus plus. Kotlin loop. Names. Okay. For contact in contacts. No, doesn't work that way. Let's use this format. I in 0 to contacts dot length. Yeah, this one will work. We go from 0 to the maximum length of our contacts. And now we read contacts one by one. First, I create an object to hold contacts. List of contacts, contacts, contact list. I think we already had a contact list in our code. Do you remember it from previous class? Yes. Contact list. Are you there,
Yeah.
Hanan?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. We had a contact list, but it was for the mutable list. Yeah, it was in another object, in another method, and we cannot access it. So we need to create another, no problem. We create another contact val contacts contacts, or let's say server contacts, because we read them from the server. And let's create mutable list of the type contact. This is an empty list. I create an empty list and I fill it with the information from the server, like this. Server contacts.add contact. Add contact. I create a new contact with the server information, like the full name and other information. I need to say contacts I dot for contacts get I get the information. I get the contact in this index, at this index. Contacts get. This gives me one single contact. As you see here, one single contact, and then I need to read its contact ID. Let's say get as, let me say new contact as JSON object. I return it. Create a JSON object for each, for each object that I read here from the array. and then I extract contact ID and other stuff from it. So val ID, I say new contact dot get contact ID get integer get int. We need to get an integer for ID. What is the other information of a contact? Tell me, Anon.
Uh,
Full name, right? We need to read full name from the server response.
full
I
name.
read
Yeah.
full name, right?
Phone.
What is the other part after full name?
Phone.
Phone. So I say phone is equal to new contact get string phone. I want to get phone. All right, now I can use these to create a new contact. I say pass in ID, first full name, then phone, then ID. Okay, I create a new, okay, this needs to be long, get long. ID is of the type long. All right, finally we created a list of contacts using the server response. And since we have everything inside the try catch, if any problem occurs, if any exception occurs, we will display it to the user and we will also log it in our logcat. That's good so far. Now let's see how this works. One thing that we forgot to do, let me see if you can guess it. What we forgot to do. First, we displayed the progress bar inside an alert dialog. When we wanted to make the request to the server, we displayed the alert dialog, right?
Yeah.
When the user starts dragging this down, they see some information. They see some alert dialog and some progress bar spinning around, which means they should wait. But after we receive the response, we need to disable that alert dialog, right?
Yeah, we have to disable it.
So we have to hide it. So when we receive the response inside on response method, we say alert dialog. Where did our alert dialog go? Alert, it's called alert. Alert dot dismiss. We close it like this. And we need to save the list of contacts inside our database. So we access our database, val db. I think we already have a connection to the DB. Yes, we have a connection. So all we have to do is to say db insert db insert. And while we are, yes, we can do that inside this method, inside this for loop. We say db.insert table name. What is our table name?
Our table name.
Yes, person, right?
Person. Yes.
It's person. So say person is our table. The second one is null. because we don't have a hack for null columns, empty columns. But the third one is important. The third parameter is important because it consists of the values that we want to save. So I say content values, I create a content values, and then I say apply, I put the information that I want to save. I say, for example, save this one. Say full name value is full name, right? And then phone number, save it in the database, and its value is phone. Finally, we can refresh the list so that the user sees the result that we have just captured from the server. So I say list. Do you agree to restart the application? I rerun the application to see if we did everything correctly.
So you're trying to run the app to see
How was
how the
this?
results.
Yeah. How was the result? How was this lesson so far, Anna?
It's good. It's productive. It's nice.
Mhm. Good. Was it very difficult, or
No, it wasn't very
let me know
difficult.
if some part is
Okay.
good. Good.
Our city's
That's great.
network is very weak, so I have some
Sorry, I didn't get you.
network
You said what is big?
problems. Upload. I said upload the speed in our video. Upload the speed in our city is very low, so
Oh, oh, I get it. Even with Irancell and MCI.
Iran said it's better but not perfect.
Mhm. Yeah, Irancell has a good upload in comparison with ADSL. ADSL is limited. I'm using ADSL, but ADSL upload speed is limited to 1 megabps. It's slow. But if you use TD-LTE, which I don't know is supported in your city or not, it has very good upload speed. Not very perfect, not great, but it's good. Much better than DSL.
Yeah,
Okay, let's run. You see,
yeah, I see it.
it displays the progress bar, it connects to the server, and I hope that it can get the results from my server. So it crashed.
Yeah,
Let's see what was the problem. Can't toast on a thread that has not called looper.prepare. We obviously had some exception. This happens sometimes when you want to display toast. We are running NQ. NQ, as I said, runs the code in a background thread, which means outside our main UI thread. If you want to run something that deals with the UI in such code that runs outside the main thread, you need to specifically say that I want this code to run on the main thread. So what we do, we say run on UI thread. And then we move our code there like this. Again, other part, this exception was for this try catch. Let me see if we are required to run outside the main thread here as well or not. Alert.show. No, we don't need to. Only the part that deals with this call inside the callback that returns the result from the server. Let's run the app again and see what the problem was. I think there was a problem from the server side. It couldn't connect to the server. Installing. Running, launching the activity. Let's refresh. We had a crash. Yeah, I saw some crash here. Let's see. The error parts. This is the error for the previous run. Okay, let's add run on UI thread for the second toast as well. For this one as well. Maybe it had to do with this part. Run again. You know what? Since we already have a progress bar for the swipe refresh layout, I can remove the progress that I added myself. So
yeah, maybe the
where
problem
did
is
I
that.
add that progress? Where is the progress bar that I added? Swipe refresh layout. This is the swipe refresh layout. Alert. I don't need this progress. I can remove it. And instead I can use title for it or message. I can add a message to it. لطفاً صبر کنید. Again, we received host issue. It's weird. I don't think we are running any toast outside the main thread.
Maybe the toast you put in the program for past lectures are making problems.
I don't think because they were in They were running in the main thread, and you can toast in the main thread. That's no problem. But if you are running a code in another thread, which we know is happening here in the onResponse, because onResponse works in background thread and is managed by the OKHTTP library. So if you need to display a toast here, you need to run it inside the run on UI thread block. لطفاً صبر کنید. Clear test communication not permitted. Okay, I got it. I got it. This is some security problem. You know, Android by default, yeah, no permission. Android by default doesn't allow you to connect to non-HTTPS servers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It only connects to HTTPS servers, and you need to
Yeah. And there's
permit
a work,
permission.
yeah, there is a workaround for this. Clear text. Clear text policy, network policy, Android. I'm sure it's available on Stack Overflow. A lot of people have asked it already. My network is very slow. I cannot even upvote it. Okay. According to network configuration, starting with Android 9, clear text support is disabled by default. So we need to enable it. First, try hitting the URL with HTTPS. No, this will not work because we don't have HTTPS on my local server. You know that. So I create a file as per this guide called network security config. Network security config, and I add it here at this content, network security config. So we go to the resource section, values, or XML. We need to create an XML resource. XML network. The name is optional. Network security. I name it network security. Do you hear me, Hannan? I put this here. And I add my server address here. Now inside my Android manifest file, I reference this. Application Android security config. Network security config. XML network security. .24 and higher, no problem. And run it again. Are you there, Hannan?
Hello, can you hear?
Are you there, Hanan?
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, welcome back. So, you know what I did? I add this small file with this
Did you
content.
got DC or I got DC?
You got disconnected.
Okay.
You know, I added this file with this content and I
Yeah.
said, Android, please allow this domain to connect without HTTPS.
Yeah.
And then inside my Android manifest, I added this part. I said Android network security config and referenced that XML file that I just created. Now Android will load it for my application and should allow me to fetch information from my server, my local server. Let's run it. Wow, crashed.
Yeah.
What is this? Okay, so that problem went away. Now we get some result from the server. But the problem is in our processing of information that we get from the server. Let's see what the problem is. In our main activity, we get the response body. Oh, no to string. We shouldn't use to string. We should say body, as I remember. Body string. I think this will do it. Val JSON root. This is a nullable string, but it requires a string. It requires a string. What do we do with this? JSON object. This is a warning. We can't forget about it after all. We can run our code for now. Or we can say to string. Yeah, it will be gone. I suspect this time our code will work. Because I was calling the wrong method on the body object.
Yeah.
Now I make the request again. In fact, body is responsible to give back a response body object. Come on. No value for embedded. Oh, embedded is not there. No value for embedded. Why not? Get JSON object. From JSON, let's check the server request, server response again. Embedded. You see, we have embedded in the root. We have embedded length self href and embedded. You know what we do? We copy this beautify print beauty. Yeah, pretty print. With the option of pretty print, it will show that better. Links, self, and then embedded. Yeah, embedded is inside our root. Our root starts here, and then we have embedded and then contact. So what's the problem? It looks like we were right. Here's where debugging comes to our help. We can run debug and see what the value of JSON root actually is here. This is the button called debug. Before running it, all you have to do is to put a bookmark here with the code and run. And you put a bookmark in a line of code so that your code will pause the execution there and you can examine the values of different variables and objects. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it helps you to debug
So
the
for
program.
example, if yeah, I break the code here. I pause the code execution here by placing a bookmark here or a breakpoint, we call it. We put a breakpoint here, and then when our code executes, it pauses here, and we can see the values of different variables. Shit, I shouldn't have closed it.
Yeah.
Let's run it again. Start debugging. It loads our activity. We can run the swipe refresh layout. And you see, the debugger starts and our code pulls here. We can examine the values of different variables. So here, let's see what the value of JSON body is. I can do that using this watch. I add a watch and I say response dot body dot string dot to string. Oh, what happened? It looks like our network call has failed. HTTP 192.168. Not acceptable. It's weird.
It won't
So
connect
you
to
see
your
that it's
server.
very helpful. Yeah, it didn't connect. But you see that it is very helpful. By doing this, it's very helpful and you can find the problems that your code has. So our problem is here. Copy the value, you text. This is our address. Let me copy this. First, let's check to see if our application, if our phone, in fact, can connect to our server. I'm gonna open a browser inside my phone and see if it can connect to my server. My server address is, IP address is, tell me what the IP address is.
190.
Yeah, 190. Continue.
192, I think. One nine
Yeah,
two one six
yeah,
eight one 34 88.
yeah. Yeah, it's great. But my phone is frozen. Come on. You know, this software has become very bulky. Turn light mode. Browse faster. Let's use the light mode, hoping that it will help us to browse faster. You really need super machines to work with this
Yeah.
software anymore. Even 8 gigabytes of RAM doesn't work anymore. 192, 168, 134, contact. And also, let's not forget that I'm doing development and recording at the same time. And this recording also requires some CPU and memory. I had to close that browser. And I'm gonna use a smaller and more lightweight emulator to run my application on. Let's run the other one, Pixel 2 API 19. I hope that one will wait.
Is on.
Hello.
Hi,
Uh,
did you get disconnected
yeah.
again? Okay, I closed the emulator and opened another one, but unfortunately that emulator didn't work because it was too old. So I had to restart the other emulator again.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's installing. You know, we are living in 2020 and our internet just sucks.
Yeah. So
This
bad.
is very bad. And the technologies that we are using are for 10 years ago. And in fact, many countries have migrated to newer technologies, but we are still stuck to those legacy
Yeah.
technologies. So once again, if you want to review, you see that we had a swipe refresh layout. We told the swipe refresh layout to listen to gestures, to drags. When the user drags on the swipe refresh layout, we run this block of code. We create an IP address. We give it this address because this is the address of our server. If your server has another address like https colon slash slash google.com or hannan.com or whatever your server address is, you enter it here, and then we create a client from the OKHTTP client class. We create a request with request builder. We pass in the URL for our server, and with the build method, it returns the request object that we will use to connect to the server. Before calling the server and sending the request to the server, we display an alert dialog to the user that asks the user to wait. And after we return the response from the server and display it in the list, we can safely remove that alert dialog with alert.dismiss. But in the onResponse method, you see that here's where we successfully get some message from server. And if everything is correct, we can process that response from the server. We create JSON objects from it. What happened? The application was not installed. Again, another attempt. Oh, my phone is still starting.
Yeah.
Oh, this is too bad. Let's check my memory. How much memory do I have? I have some free memory, but I don't know why the system is unresponsive. Let's close the emulator. Run it again. Let's check if the settings is correct on the emulator. Probably there's something that we can improve about that. We open the emulator device manager and let's check out the settings on that. Graphics, advanced, cold boot. Let's do cold boot so that it starts everything from scratch. This
Hello, your sound cut up. I can't hear you. Yeah, it's better. It's
okay. Whenever I start the emulators, it often happens. So you saw that there were some parts inside this block where we had to display some message to the user using a toast. And you need to make sure that you are creating toasts on the main thread because you cannot do a UI related operation in your background thread. So since here we need to show a message to the user, we need to run that code inside this block, run on UI thread. And we tell Android to display the error with the toast message once here and once at the end. In case some exception or error occurred, we say run on UI thread and display the error to the user. Okay, the emulator is running. Installing. Looks like this time the phone performs better. All right, I made a call to the server and I hope that it sees my server. You see,
Yeah.
I was able to connect to my server from my phone. So my application should be able to return the results from the server if everything is what I expect it to be. Some error happened. Why? Let's do a log here, log d, and display the result that we get. JSON root, JSON root, JSON root. JSON root. No. Response dot body. Response string. I'm gonna create response string. Response dot body dot string dot toString, and then pass it in here. Response string. Response string. For the tag. Tag is the label of this activity, main activity, or some label that you want. It's optional. JSON, run it again. We must know what problem is. It just doesn't find the embedded key, and it's weird.
on.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, hello. Hello, I don't have your sound. I don't have your sound.
What about now?
Yeah, now I got it. It's good.
Good, good. So I make some change to the server code, and this time it should work. Okay, it returns us the server code, JSON encode, contacts. Hmm, give it an array. But it's not JSON. We need to return it as JSON. Status code and Title not acceptable. So this time we read the whole, we modify the URL. I modify the URL and make the call again. See what we got. We should only get a JSON array this time. And from the JSON array, we should get everything. Launching the app. Good. Not bad. This time it returns the result. Value lang, no problem. So the first two ones, we don't need them. I don't need the embedded. I just need the root. I just need the root. And from root, JSON root, I get, or even not that, JSON array. I can create that using the response that I got from the server. Yes, JSON server response string. So this gives me an array I can work with. I don't even need the root anymore. Now I should be able, you see this response from the server? I just
Yeah.
logged in to see what happens. Launch the app, send the request to the server, get the response, convert it to a string, and then what happened? Index index out of range. Arrays start from 0, you know?
Yeah.
So we should say go to length -1, range 2, or until 0 until. Okay, from 0 until length -1. So we cannot go until length. We should say length -1. For example, if your array is 10 items, your indexes will be from, tell me, 0 to
17. Right? Hello.
I didn't hear you. Repeat, please. From 0
17.
to what? No, if your array is not, sorry, if your array is 20 items, okay, then your
Okay.
indexes will be from 0 to, from 0 to,
2. I didn't get it.
look, you have an array. Imagine you have an array with 20 items, okay?
Okay.
Then if you want to go from index 0 until the last item, the index of the last item will be, tell me. It will be 1 less than the length of the array.
19. right?
which means 19. Yeah, yeah, that's correct. You see, it worked.
Yeah, finally.
Wow, eventually it worked. Ah, I know how to crash it. Only the original thread actually they can't touch its views. I don't know how to fix this anymore. Only the original thread. Again, it has something to do with the main thread or something like that. We can trace it by seeing the trace, but it didn't give us a specific place where the code crashed. Touch its views.
It worked. What's the problem? Didn't it work?
Yeah, it worked, but there was some crash, and it had something to do with the with touching of some views inside the main thread. You know,
Yeah.
outside the main thread. You should not and you cannot touch your views outside the main thread, and that's a principle we have to stick to all the time. But we can find it. It's not much of a problem right now. So you saw how it works, how you
Yeah.
connect to the server, what library to use. The library that we used was OKHTTP, and the permissions that we needed was the internet permission, and also if you need to connect to a server without HTTPS, you need to add this security config. But it's not common these days because most servers are working on HTTPS. So uh, if you have any questions, please let me know before we wrap up this lesson.
No, not really. No, no question.
Okay, please review this video. I will share with you the
Yeah.
video. Please review it, and if you had any questions, let me know. Most probably, next lesson will be about maps and adding map to our
Okay.
application. So see you in the next lecture.
See you.
Have a
Goodbye.
good evening.
You too.
Thanks. Goodbye. Thanks. Bye.